Wonderfully enlightening indeed. And I loved that concept at the beginning about to innovate the future, we have to celebrate the past. Women on Walls began in response to a very simple question: where are the women? And the interesting legacy of that question is that once you start to ask it, you notice gaps everywhere. From academia to business, from politics to arts and media, and indeed in medicine. When it comes to making the decisions that most affect our world, women's voices are simply not heard equally, and sometimes not heard at all. And when it comes to recording the contributions and the legacy of women, sometimes the walls are empty. Their stories are less known and thereby less valued. Fundamentally, Women on Walls is about taking action together to change what we all see around us every day and to make space to tell a more inclusive story. Now, last year at this event, we announced the call to artists for portraits of women at the Royal College of Surgeons. And those 8 paintings were unveiled earlier this week in the historic boardroom of RCSI on St. Stephen's Green. And today we're going to be launching a series of podcasts about the women featured, and I'm really delighted to have the series producer, Ciara Gallen, is going to join us on stage shortly, and she's going to lead a discussion with the RCSI Director of Equality, Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Avril Hutch, with the Chief Executive and Registrar of RCSI, Professor Cathal Kelly, and with the Business to Arts CEO, Andrew Hetherington. But first, this is Women on Walls at RCSI.
Avril, let's start with you. What was the research that started this journey?
Well, lots of institutions here today, we want to ensure that more women and girls consider careers in science. And a number of years ago, we did a piece of research to see how many girls were entering surgery. And we know that our pipeline is really strong. So 51% of medical students are female, while 34% of core surgical trainees are. But by the time it gets to consultant level, that drops to 10%. So we recognize that there was more that we could do.
Yeah, wow, 10%. Carl, why does this matter?
Well, we've heard all morning really about innovation and disruption. And one of our main challenges at RCSI and other institutions is to try to advance healthcare in this country and globally. Healthcare faces many, many challenges, which I don't need to regale this audience with. And as part of that, we're going to have to innovate and disrupt. And we can't be losing that number of really talented, vocationally motivated people. So it's really important that we can get a diverse workforce, that we can advance women into senior positions in surgery. And as Avril has said, we launched the progress report in 2017 with a series of measures to try to fix the pipeline, if you like. One of which we're due to launch this year, a Johnson & Johnson fellowship to sponsor women post-training to get overseas fellowships, which has been a major block in allowing them to take on very senior academic roles in surgery, which we want to support.
Yeah, wow, okay. And Avril, there's so many things you could have done to approach this, but why Women on Walls? What was the attraction there? Why did you choose this approach?
Well, I suppose as part of our action plan to increase the number of females in medicine and healthcare, we know from the literature and from experience that having strong role models is very important. And we were very taken by the Women on Walls project in the Royal Irish Academy. And being quite a similar institution in many ways, we have a mix of incredible high-tech new buildings and then heritage buildings. And we wanted something that was sympathetic, I suppose, to our history. And we recognized that our portraiture collection perhaps wasn't as reflective of our student and staff body. And so we looked at how we could address that, and Women on Walls was the perfect solution.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, as you can see, the portraits are here, and they're so impressive. They're up now in the boardroom in St. Stephen's Green. Yes. And they're open to the public, is that right?
Yes, so they were unveiled on Tuesday. It was an absolutely incredible day. We had over 90 family members attend, and to say it was emotional was an understatement. And tomorrow we have our first set of public tours. So they start at 10. And if anyone would like to come, you can register on Eventbrite.
I think we can all vouch. It's a very emotional and beautiful experience to be in that room. Andrew, welcome. Tell us about the artists. How were they selected? I mean, that's my first part of my question. The second part.
Yeah, it's a complex process when you have a couple of centuries of tradition of portraiture in a collection. You have to think very carefully about how you introduce a new body of artwork into it. We were lucky to work with multiple teams in the Royal College of Surgeons to understand the history of collecting, of decision making, and how the building works in terms of its art collection. And we went through a process to identify the portraits that would come down and the ones that might be rehung, and how we would create space for 8 incredible, substantial portraits. And these are big portraits. And in order to do that, we need time, and artists need time to create them. So we stood on the stage here last year announcing a call to artists. We received 60 applications from artists all over Ireland, and the panel that were convened to decide who those artists would be were taken with 6 artists, and they created these 8 works. The 6 artists, if I go through them, Molly Judd is on that side, the 2 images on that side, then Enda Griffin, William Nathans, then we've got Mick O'Dea, Benito Stoney, and then Catherine Creaney. Catherine Creaney's painting you may have seen in the papers and in the media being brought up the stairs or through the door of the RCSI. But the artworks took a total of about 8 months to make. The artists are based in different parts of the country, so we went the length and breadth of the country, Team Business to Arts and RCSI and Team Accenture, to work with the artists so that they understand lots of details that might not immediately be obvious, but within each one of the portraits there's very subtle references to their strength, to their industry, to their academic credentials, to their focus. If I take Benita up at the top, she's a pioneer of inoculation in Dublin, and this is York Street, the old street of right beside Royal College of Surgeons, where tenements were filled with people, and what she's depicting is injections into young people so that they are inoculated in BCG. And then as you look through all of the others, there's lots of detail around their lives, their achievements, and I strongly encourage you to go and have a look at them and see the entire story, as well as the power and strength of the women.
Exactly, and listen to the podcast as well, because that gives more depth as well to these beautiful paintings. Carl, just in the last few moments we have, tell me, why these 8 women in particular?
Well, we have a wonderful archives team, Susan Layden, Mary Doherty, Ronan Kelly, who went through our history, if you like, identified, and I think the more they learnt about these women, they became their passionate advocates. And they're interesting. They represent 3 themes, really. For some of them, they were the first breakthrough, first medical student in Britain and Ireland, first surgical fellow in Britain and Ireland. Others took on diseases and conditions which weren't popular, made major advances in them, TB, children's health, sudden infant death. And one of them actually advanced the entire profession. Dean Crowley took nursing to a whole new level. In fact, founded our faculty and runs, well, she doesn't, but they continue to run the longest established nursing conference in Europe. So she advanced the entire nursing profession. So I think they're all there very much on their merits. And I'm glad to say there's a pipeline of other female who made huge breakthroughs for Irish medicine and indeed international medicine in our pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the aims of Women on Walls, and in particular with RCSI, is to show these amazing leaders and pioneers in healthcare, and to show the future generations, especially women, that they can, you know, that there's these forebearers before you. Great, and so Colin, I'll ask you the last question then. How have the paintings changed the space, as you referenced this historical building, the RCSI boardroom?
I think what's incredible is it's like they've always been there. And that's a testament to the commissioning process as much as anything else, but they belong there. And some of the comments that we've had from our students, particularly this week, have been really powerful. And I saw a photo you took yourself outside at the Lewis stop looking up at, you know, RCSI, and you can see Emily Winford Dixon peeking around the corner out at the green. and to know that they have that presence, and while it's overdue, that we're celebrating them is really important.
Yeah, very much so. Well, listen, that's the end of our talk. I want to thank Andrew Heatherthing. Oh my God, excuse me. Dr. Avril Hutch and Professor Carl Kelly. And we're just going to play a short teaser from episode 1 of Dr. Barbara Stokes. The podcast is now available online, Women on Walls, in your podcast app, or you can go to www.accenture.com, Women on Walls, or women.rcsi.com. Thank you.